Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. It is February 24, 2011. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Hope you had a lovely day. We have a wonderful show in store for you tonight with Tobias Lars. He is a personal awakening coach and a soul counselor, also the author of one of my favorite books, Listening to the Sun and Awakening Souls. He has literally spent the last 3 decades on his journey of spiritual study, which led him to spending time in India with a master teacher, studied shamanic practices with Native Americans, heart-centered tantra, ego, confrontation, the path of divine romantic love, and the energies around us. He has put together InnerBodyAwakening.com and AlchemyProcess.com, which has definitely helped me along my path. InnerBodyAwakening.com will not only help you become more connected and in tuned with inner space, with your inner body, but also help you become more aware of what's going on the outside. And we're going to be talking about some of that tonight. The topic is, what are angels? What are angels, demons, and elementals? Who are they? Assuming they are real, how can you let them help you? How do you tell the good ones from the bad ones? What does the electromagnetic frequency spectrum have to do with angels? And what about math? Math, frequency, and geometry. What does that have to do with angels? And lastly, why aren't most humans letting their angels help them? CourseOfAwakening.com is also another great tool. He puts up fascinating videos with real inner truth, things that you're going to find in his book. And he just posted a new video yesterday about this topic, angels helping you manifest your dreams in the physical world, and talks about the relationship we can have with them, how they can help us to manifest our dreams, and about the spiritual and physical worlds merging together, or the possibility of at some point. I'll be posting these links, of course, in the text chat if you'd like to join us over at TruthBrigade.com. And, of course, you can find his book at soulcounseling.com. I think it's on Amazon, so just search for Listening to the Sun, Tobias Lars, and you will find it. And I'm telling you, there's just no greater wealth of information just packed into, about 200 pages here, something I take with me all the time. It's one of those you can just flip and open up to a page, and I don't know, somehow the message always seems to resonate with exactly what I need to hear. But it is that time, so we're going to be right back with Tobias Lars, so stay tuned. Truth Brigade Radio. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at truthbrigade.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. Our special guest tonight, Tobias Lars, author of Listening to the Sun, here to join us in our discussion about what are angels, demons, and elementals, and how we can let them help us or guide us in our life. So good to have you here this beautiful Thursday, Tobias. How you doing?
Hi, Christie. Thanks always for having me. By the way, if anyone saw the last Iron Man movie, they know that there's going to be a movie about Thor here on Thursday coming out. Thor being really Zeus, they're the same god, really, these ancient titans. History Channel just had a show on who these ancient gods really were. Anyway, so Thor's Day is a very powerful day. Thursday, it's the holiest day in Vedic culture, in the yoga culture. It is the Guru's Day. And I love Thursdays. It's a very powerful
I like
day.
that. I've always liked Thursdays, too.
Yeah.
Plus, it's closer to Friday, so that means, just one more day, and then we get to rest.
Friday's the day when you let out Frey, the Norse god Freitag, which is, Friday. It's also when some people fry their brains. It's also when Dionysus gets let out and the party starts. Right on.
All right. Well, thanks for giving me some ideas for the weekend, Tobias. But here on the Most Holiest Day, we are going to be talking about what is angels, or what are angels tonight. You posted a new video on YouTube, as I mentioned in the intro, and you can find those videos over at courseofawakening.com, or you can go to YouTube, and it's the user is Tobias Lars Gunnar, Gunnar, or I think you can just go to YouTube and put in Tobias Lars and you come right up, right?
That's the easiest way to do it, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I'm the least partying guy I know lately. Even going to college, I used to think there was something wrong with me, that I didn't want to go beer drinking and partying and sedating myself. But I know better now, and I'm really grateful. What's that?
I can't even get you to drink coffee. We need to get you to loosen up a little on Friday.
I should be a good Mormon, huh? Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, let's, so open the discussion, of course, about angels or angels, demons, and elementals to expand. Let me ask you this, though. Does your faith depend on if these things are real?
No, it's physics. It's sort of like saying, if you start a faith that says the church, yeah, exactly, that your church believes in that the sun will not come up tomorrow, the sun will probably still come around tomorrow, around the bend, around the planet. So no, it's really just spiritual physics. There's a real merging of science and true religion, which again is that Latin word, from the Latin word religio, reconnect, same root as ligament. And so it doesn't matter. This is about practical. Is it real? It is not about belief systems, not about what you have to believe, not about some blind faith that doesn't make any sense. There used to be a time on Earth when science and religion were the same thing. It was just study of physics, study of natural law. How do these things work? When I do this with my energies in my body, what happens? And shamanism, or magic, if you will. When Jesus is doing healing, when he's walking on water, when he's transmuting certain atoms that are in wine or water into wine, he's working transmutational alchemy physics laws on the basic electromagnetic level that then creates atoms, which create certain physical attributes like taste. Water versus wine. So these forces of nature are what they are. Now, we can shut down some of it by not believing in it. Humans have the peculiar ability, our dogs don't, our cats don't, our animals don't, or rather maybe they don't have the interest in shutting off certain of their talents. I was watching Bentley today stick his nose out the window, and I was just tapping in and feeling how he experiences the universe, and it is all the mouth. When a dog kind of smacks their lips and they're tasting the air.
Yeah.
And he is just he's tapping in to that universe of sense and smell, and that part of his brain is just totally absorbing all kinds of information. That's just physics. That's just natural energy. And they're not just tasting chemicals in the air. Science tries to reduce it to, that's just chemicals. No, it's not. That's why homeopathy works. That's why there's a sixth sense, we call it, that dogs have. Why do they know when their master comes home? Why do homing pigeons, why can they do that? Why can a baby bird that's born in northern Norway, even if you take it away from its parents, it somehow knows to fly to North Africa? It has never made that journey before to the same place where its other siblings are. How does that bird know that? That doesn't make any sense, you know. It's not following its parents the first journey. You know, you can hold them back, and they will just do it on their own. How do they know that? It's something beyond chemicals. So these frequencies and places are simply a higher physics that Thoth, that magicians, the three magi that visited Jesus, that Yogananda, that Babaji, that higher teachers, they know. Mother Mary, Mira, Mataji, all kinds of the Kuan Yin, feminine and male. These are latent abilities in all of us humans. You know, there's some blind people that can literally use radar. They click and they can sort of see. Helen Keller, of course, was an amazing example of these latent talents that we all have. Some of our autistic or Asperger syndrome kids or people nowadays have these unbelievable recall abilities and bordering on just magic or mathematical abilities. These are all ones that we have in us, and there's nothing magical about them. It is simply, if you shut down certain frequencies in humans, then we think, and then you train humans to, you are stupid sheep, and you are not allowed to have these abilities. There is all reductionist science. There is no such thing as other energies than what you can see. By the way, great example here. If you looked at the Empire State Building, how tall it is, and that was the whole electromagnetic spectrum. In other words, you know, infrared, gamma rays, X-rays, the visible light spectrum, you know, all kinds of electromagnetic energies, the whole spectrum of electromagnetic energies. In other words, we can't see radio waves. You can't see the little phone waves that are going to my phone right now. You can't see television waves. We can't see them, but they're there, obviously. We're sending massive amounts of data on the Internet every day across these invisible waves every time you use wireless. So all that electromagnetic energy. Now, we see the visible light spectrum as humans. Our eyeballs capture something called the visible light spectrum between red and violet. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, violet. Blue, indigo, violet, right? If the whole Empire State Building is all the electromagnetic energy spectrum, the full range from the lowest frequency to the highest frequency, how many floors or how big do you think the visible light spectrum, that which humans see, would be out of those 130 floors, whatever it is? How big would that be? Some people have said, I guess 2 floors, that we only see 2 floors out of those 130 floors. Someone else told me it was actually just 2 grains of sand. 2 grains of sand of the whole Empire State Building is all that we can see. So that's how much we're missing, how much we're not seeing around us. Is there any wonder that spaceships and angels and demons and shadow people and all kinds of creatures and beings and energies and jinn and elementals and fairies and gnomes and elves and leprechauns and brownies and you know, all these creatures and created kingdoms are not visible to us, maybe to some of our little kids and to those that have learned to shut up about it. But anyhow, so if we're just...
of us that still don't know how to shut up.
Yeah, right, like me.
Me. Okay, so I see what you're saying. It's regardless of your beliefs, I mean, that doesn't change the fact that they are still there. They are still real. And in fact, you know, even the church fathers, because I know a lot of people want to use religion to prove that these things either are or aren't real, But, I mean, even the early church fathers knew that they were real. I mean, they talked about even having conversations with elementals, but they put them in the demon category, therefore just, completely shutting it down, and then people mistook anything that they couldn't see or touch, I mean, including the nature spirits and elementals, as being demons. I mean,
right.
Even people talk about entire planets as being demonic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's stories of a teacher that, an American teacher here in Arizona years ago, who would talk about how the life on Venus and Mars, these are real, there's real life there, beings like us. They're just not on the same frequency channel as us. So when we show up, they are existing in a different frequency. And the easiest way to see this or feel this is a radio dial. Now, a radio dial is very, very crude compared to the universe dial, the frequency universal dial of reality. Feel this one. The universal reality dial. The universal, universes, and oneness. Universal means one. It's not just the movie company that makes movies. Universal means universe, the song of one, universe. Verse is a word that means the song. The song of one, that's beautiful, poetic, and it means oneness. The universal reality dial, picture it as a 360-degree sphere of some kind of energy construct, not just a flat radio dial that dials up and down from the right and left to the right from 88, cycles per second or 8,800, FM and AM. I'd have to remember that's frequency modulation and amplitude modulation. So imagine yourself in this circular sphere of reality dial. You are the central dial in your heart. You can dial realities all around you. Just the same way you go 88.3 is the classical station, which bores me to death for most of us, or 106.3, super, whatever. Some crazy morning jocks playing heavy metal. I don't know what they do, But and so, which I love, I love all that. Anyway, isn't it funny that to the left you have NPR, National Public Radio, Christian stations, and classical stations are all on the left side of the dial? Isn't that weird? And then all of a sudden, about 93, then you're allowed to have music, and then you get hip-hop and rock and metal and alternative, and you get all that stuff. Isn't that weird? We even have a segregated radio dial. Why isn't there any rock stations at 89.3? You ever think about that? Kind of weird when you think about it. And I bet there's someone that will come up with, because that has to do with frequencies and controlling people's brains. Who knows? Mm. But anyhow, so that radio dial is very crude. The actual real dial of realities is your spinal cord. This is just mathematics. Leonardo da Vinci knew about it. He used it. He did it. Michelangelo knew about it. He did it. He used it. Nostradamus knew how to work it late at night there, tapping into other realities, time traveling, remote viewing through simple physics and writing down what he saw in the future. Edgar Cayce knew how to do it. St. John the Divine on the island of Patmos, south of Crete, knew how to do it when he was tapping into what's called the Book of Revelation. You want to read someone on a magic trip? Read the Book of Revelation. Horses with four heads, women, naked women, blood, moons falling. It is basically a giant acid trip he's doing down there on the island of Patmos. And trying to make sense of it. I'm teasing. He's tapping into other frequencies and other realities, just like happens on ayahuasca journeys with shamans in the rainforest now, or ibogaine in Africa, or that happens naturally through meditation. When Yogananda would do this, and when yogis do this, there's a beautiful yogi now. I know I'm running off the mouth, but I'm just getting this info. There's a yogi today in India who grew up as a regular. There's tons of them, but this guy I like. He rides motorcycles, plays soccer, plays baseball, has fun with kids. It's just a normal guy. Yet something happened to him. He grew up without any religion. Maybe that's better. Maybe John Lennon had it right. Imagine no religions. Imagine no heaven. There's no heaven or hell. It's just energy. It's frequency. It's natural, you know. Your dog doesn't worry about going to heaven. It totally trusts Mother Earth and Father God. Maybe we'd be better off if we did that. Maybe we would actually be allowed to see back into these frequencies if we did that, you know. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, we are the center. Your spinal column is the ultimate radio dial. Your spinal column is the ultimate universe radio dial. You want to see little E.T. gray guys? You can do that. You want to see leprechauns? Go to Ireland and hang out in those frequencies? You will see them. You will see them. These are real beings. You know, Pan is a real being. Fairies are real. You know, even Ozzy says that. Ozzy Osbourne says it. Fairies wear boots. Check out that song. He's walking home from some bar some night. And he says, I swear, fairies wear boots. I saw them. And I know he's not lying. I know. Now, I know Ozzy's not going to be a good reference in the court of public opinion. But Jesus and Ozzy together will both tell you that fairies are real. And some of them wear boots.
Oh, and some of them are barefoot, but hold that right there, Tobias. It is that time. We are going to be right back, so stay tuned. Tobias Lars on. Thanks so much for joining us here at Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, where fairies wear boots and angels wear masks. We are talking about angels, demons, and elementals with Tobias Lars, who is a personal awakening coach and author of Listening to the Sun. InnerBodyAwakening.com is the website, and if you have any questions for Tobias tonight, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525, and if you'd like to join us on the text chat, that's over at TruthBrigade.com. All right, Tobias, you are on a roll.
I have a complaint. I'd like to file a complaint with your radio station.
Yes,
I cannot believe that you would mention Ozzy Osbourne and Jesus Christ in the same sentence. This is just unbelievable. You cannot do this. This is sacrilegious. I'm going to not listen anymore.
Well, the little red X is up at the top, or perhaps you know how to change the dial.
Yeah.
For those who aren't too offended, let's elaborate. Let's talk more about this.
I love hate mail. Send me more. I'm getting better at dealing with hate mail, you know. It's just the way it is. Anytime you introduce ideas outside the normal frequency dial, you know, whether it's people laughing at Fulton as he claims to run a steam engine there on the Hudson, or Marconi, you know, being carted off in a straitjacket because he told people he could send things through the air, you know. They literally, his friends were thinking of having him committed, I think is the story. When Marconi said, you know, I've discovered this new thing. I can send messages through the air via electromagnetic frequencies. His friends literally thought of having him committed. I'm sure some of my friends have thought of having me committed at times, you know. But luckily, none of them had enough power to do it at the time. I don't know. So, no, of course, it is a matter of frequency and tuning in, just like this is what radio is teaching us and television. Every technology we have, telephone, radio, television, are simply poor mimics of our natural abilities. The telephone is a poor mimic of ultimate telepathy. And more people are noticing that. Wow, I was just thinking that, or you picked up on my thoughts, or we must have been linked together, or, you know, it's happening all the time.
I was just thinking of you, and then someone calls, or...
Yeah. Or like, I have to stop thinking about them, or they'll call me, you know. and it's really just, yeah, and it's
the capacity of our own brain, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all this technology, computers, mind-reading machines, etc.
And we've shut it down because the mind, if you research this, really the brain itself, that's why the idiotic scientism, when they go, let's research Einstein's brain and see if it's different than other people's, is just stupid. Because it's not in the gray flesh that this awareness or consciousness resides. There's a man in England who's, he's not a genius by any kind, but he has, his brain is literally only about an inch along the bottom, around his skull, and the whole center of his cranial cavity is filled with liquid. And he had a condition growing up. So he literally has 1/10 or less, 1/20th the brain of normal people, and he functions fine. How do you explain that? You can Google that right now. Man without a brain lives normally. It's just amazing. So it really has nothing to do with the physicality as much as it does with energetic frequencies. And angels, or what we've called angels, are real beings, just like us, just like when grandma passes on, or when your dog or cat passes on, they don't disappear. They simply translated, they turned the dial a little bit in a different direction, and they're existing at a different station. And then love or caring or connection can bridge that different frequency, those different heavens, those different hells. There's many frequencies, many mansions is what Jeshua ben David calls it. In my Father's house are many mansions. He's trying to explain to illiterate people practically, about this stuff at the time. And so he's trying to, who knows what the real word was, it's been translated so many times. Houses, I suggest probably the word for house means domain or area or something like that as well, probably originally. So you can do it through drugs. You can derange your mind through drugs, and heavy drinking or whatever, and you can access usually the lower astral hells. And you can do it through meditation. You can do it through various things. The natural ways are what I recommend, actually feeling your own energy. And we've been shut down because we worship the mind. That's where I was going with the Einsteinian brain thing. We worship the mind, and the mind is not the source. The heart is the real power generator. There are some studies now that are suggesting that the brain is about 1/12 the amount of electromagnetic energy, the field around the brain. Anytime you have electricity, you create magnetic fields. But the field around the heart chakra, in your heart, in your feeling heart, is much, much stronger field than the brain field. So when the heart shuts down, the whole human being gets really shut down. It's sort of like we went from, high-octane energy to very low or polluted or simply survival energy. And so this is why every true teacher offers love. The whole of the law is love, or reconnect with caring or empathy, compassion, wisdom as well. But that will open the powers. It's physics. God doesn't punish anyone. We shut ourselves off. We shut ourselves down. So we don't have telepathy, telekinesis, knowing all things at once, these natural powers, being able to know all things on earth, time travel with our minds, etc., and so forth. We have all of this. And angels, I know that's the topic tonight, are a type of being that has not, as a rule, they do it occasionally, physicalized into this particular frequency of cellular physicality. They remain in a different frequency that is not physical, but it's just as real as here. In fact, in a way, you could say it's more real because it is more connected to the source, to God. And angels are assigned to us. They choose it. Angels are not human. They're not the same. Angels are not, your passed-on relatives. That's not your guardian angels. Angels are a created creature. and it's very controversial, but we are actually, in a sense, bigger, more powerful spirits than the angels, because we are literally, human beings are literally pieces of God, pieces of the source. We are the experiment. Why would the source quit with humans and say, that's the only thing I'm ever going to make? No, that'd be like
we're pieces and angels aren't?
Angels, no. In my opinion, my understanding, the angels are pieces of source as well, but they're of a different, they don't have the abilities that humans eventually are meant to have and that we did originally. They don't have the ability. They used to call it a free will, in a sense. I know it gets complicated here, and we're still learning this whole story. But they, in a sense, they're a different frequency than humans are meant to evolve and become the source themselves, pieces of the source of the universe. The angels are of a different order of creation. They are not the same type as human spirits. How about we leave it at that?
Okay, well, I hope you would elaborate more. There's a couple of questions on the chat, and the first one is, can you ask if Arcturians are the angels? And then someone else says Pleiadians.
No, they're not. They are beings like us. It gets confusing here because when you see a Pleiadian or an Arcturian being able to translate forms, we go, oh, that's an angel. But no, that's not. They're not angels. They are like us. There's many star people incarnate on Earth right now from other star systems. And there's humans that have never only come up through the Earth, so to speak, the school of Earth. And that's mixing together on Earth. But the angels are elementals in a sense. They are constructive. They are part of the construction, if you will, of the physical universe. For example, one order of angels are part of time. There's an angel for every moment of time during the day. So when time was created, there were intelligences created to keep time holding it together. It's sort of like when you build a building, you need girders, right? And you need the structure and beams. Certain angelic frequencies, which are beings, are structural components of the physical universe. See if that...
Okay, but if time is a man-made construct, and we hear, it's just an illusion, or in the sense that we think it is, then why go through all that trouble to create beings that are going to help hold that structure together?
Actually, it happens automatically. Just like we all know that feeling of when you've decided you want something, you don't know how, but somehow it showed up in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's
true.
Yeah, I don't know why I wanted that, and you don't know how it showed up, but it did. You don't have to know the details, because we as humans are creators and uncreators. I know, and it's popular to put ourselves down and make the angels higher than us. Now, there were some angels, and this questions the thing of free will. Well, how could have Lucifer and a third of the angels chosen to go against God? So obviously some of the angels have free will, right? So there's different orders of angels, and they would like to perpetuate the idea that humans are sinful pieces of dirt and that the angels are much, much more beautiful and much more glorious. But that's not the truth. This is the Cinderella story. It's the evil stepsisters that want to convince Cinderella she's nothing. She's nothing. And we are pretty, but they are really ugly. So there are fallen, selfish, against the natural order angels as well that want to feed on humanity and have been feeding on humanity for a long time.
So just because they're called angels doesn't necessarily mean they're good.
No. Some of the worst, quote, demons were the most beautiful angels or the most powerful angels. And, yeah, it's a big story, Angels there's a truth in that some of the angels got jealous of humans and basically said, why are we serving these people? They're kind of dumb. We're much more beautiful and much more in charge, and we should be running the earth, Not these. It's sort of like jealousy, basically. You know, the here we are, we've been part of God's creation, and now He's created this new child. It's like the new child arriving in the house, and the older kids get jealous. So some of the older kids, in this case, some of the angels, got jealous and said, hell no, we're not serving these humans. We're going to make them serve us. And that's been going on Earth for a long time. You can smell them out very easily, actually, the way Bentley can smell anything out in the air. You can tell by how they feel. If they feel they put you down, they make you feel less than, they don't have equality or respect, they don't have respect for you, and there's not a sort of loving feeling of respecting you as another piece of God.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Tobias, lots of questions. Text chat's off the hook, so if you have any questions, don't be shy. Just give us a call at 402-237-2525. It is that time. Stay tuned. We will be right back with Tobias Lars on Truth Brigade Radio. Right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Tobias Lars tonight, talking about angels, demons, and elementals. And Tobias, I have a few questions for you, but we have a couple callers on the line, so we're going to get to them first. Our first is area code 706. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Christie.
Hi there.
Tobias.
Hi.
I was just wanting to share an interesting angel story that I have.
Okay.
I used to travel extensively, and one day while I was on the interstate, I got off to fuel, and when I pulled up in the fueling station, there was no one there, and so when I fueled, I started to get back in the vehicle, and I looked up, and there was a guy. He had long hair, and he looked kind of like a homeless person. And he said, do you have any change? Or, I need to make a phone call, because there was a few phone booths close to him. And so I said, well, hang on, let me get fueled, and I'll get to you. So when I finished fueling and paying, he was standing by the phone. And I went out to him, and I said, I got some change if you want to make a call or whatever. And he said, well, just anything, And I looked, and, I had some extra money, so I gave him a 10, and I gave him some change. And we started talking, and I looked in his eyes. His eyes were just crystalline clear, blue, bright, like, unbelievable, not how you would see in a homeless person,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I wondered who this guy was, because he started telling me things. He said, hey, do you know about what's going to happen, in a few years? I'm going to tell you some stuff. And he told me some things that came true. And when I went back to get in my vehicle, I looked back at the phone booth, and he was gone. And there was no way that he could have left that quickly.
Yeah.
So when I drove down the road, I was thinking, who was that?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
How similar those stories are about them sort of disappearing. Maybe that's
he just vanished.
Yeah, maybe that's their calling card to let us know, because otherwise it's like that happens so often. I've experienced that, and I know millions of people have of them. Afterwards you go, wait a minute, how did they disappear so quickly?
Yeah, that guy, there's no way he could have left that quick. I looked back over, and I said to myself, and it just gave me kind of chills, to look back over and see that he was gone.
Yeah. Maybe they're so busy, it's like once they're done, they got to go.
They got a lot on their schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they need to improve that. If they're trying to stay totally incognito, they need to have a seminar for the angels that go, listen, guys, you've all been leaving too early. They're figuring out that we're angels. You need to hang out by the phone booth and wave goodbye, and then you can disappear.
Right.
Right.
Well, the interesting thing was that he, I immediately sensed that he really didn't need the money.
Yeah.
And that the whole idea of him talking to me was to tell me these things that he told me, that were, like either prophecy, premonition, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that's why I know that he was a supernatural being. He wasn't just, some homeless person standing by the road.
Mm-hmm.
Entertaining angels unaware, yet we are becoming more and more aware. We're catching it now.
Right.
I'm remembering two guys that pretended to be painters, and they were like sitting in their little truck, and they had cans of paint and rollers and stuff in the back of the truck. but they were way too clean, It was like, come on, guys. Yeah. I'm like, your truck is too clean. The clothes you're wearing are they're like starched almost. You know what I mean? It's like, and their eyes were exactly that too. Beautiful, bright, very bright, clear eyes.
This guy had the clearest eyes I've ever seen. They were just like crystal. They were like china blue crystal, just beaming, radiating.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that so much since then. And I've had other incidents where I've thought maybe, hey, that wasn't a real person, that wasn't a person, that was a supernatural being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they are, we can all feel it as we're talking about it. You can just open your dial now, if you're listening to this, and say, because part of the show tonight is how do you communicate with your angels, or how do you connect to them? Because there are angels that their reason for living, reason for being is they get off on, they gain energy from, they feel good, they get their bliss, their food, literally.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Tobias. Hold that right there, and thank you so much for your call. It is that time. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned. Truth Brigade Radio. All right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Top of the second hour with Tobias Lars on Truth Brigade Radio. And that was an awesome call. Thanks so much for calling in and sharing your story with us. And we do have a couple more callers on the line, a few short minutes this segment. So our next caller is area code 516. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Christie. Hello, Tobias. I am the Truth Matrix guy.
Hi there,
Hey.
Truth Matrix. How you doing?
Truth Matrix Seeker, sorry. How you doing? Okay, I got tons of questions. First, have you ever communicated two ways with an angel? Two-way communication?
Yes. I'm feeling it as you say it. I'm recalling and feeling. I try to answer truthfully. Yes, multiple times.
Are you able to tell the angel that I would like to speak with the angel, and could he come?
That's between you. That's between you and your angels. You can't tell angels what to do. They do what they do. I can ask them for me, and
Please ask.
Well, isn't it possible, let me just put this out there, isn't it possible that they could be speaking to him and he just maybe not recognize it? Like,
well, I used to think that. I used to think that. However, I had a friend who 10 years ago, we used to work together for like about 8 years. Actually, it was 7 years since the last time I worked with him, and we worked for about 8 years together. Me and him did not believe in anything spiritual, anything religious, none of that. We thought everybody was just crazy in the head. Now, he had a problem where his wife had been gambling or going to a bookie and owed like $100,000. So he had to sell. He had a second house. He had to sell it to pay it off. he didn't trust her. So one night, when he was putting his daughter to sleep, he was just, he put her to bed and he put the blanket over and he was just looking at her for a few minutes with sadness in his heart. He was like, I can't believe that I can't trust this woman. I'm going to have to divorce her, and what it's going to do to my family and my child and the future, and everything's all going to be screwed up. And he couldn't believe it. He closed the door, and as he walked into the hallway and turned around, he saw an angel, and he fell to his knees, and in an instant he said, I knew God, I knew all this stuff, and now he's Haitian, and so every once a week he goes on AM radio, and he's able to read the Bible like he knew it somehow.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I worked with this guy, and he would not lie. He would not make up this thing, and he is so transformed. And two things to me that beyond that is the fact that it happened to him, and he didn't have any spiritual training, pineal gland, clearing your chakras, all of that. They have the ability to come down into a lower density to present themselves to you, and if not even to present themselves like a full apparition, can't you just get like an acknowledgement or like a clairaudient thing? Because I go to this a spiritualist church every now and then, and you get some uncanny readings there. And I met a lady there that, she speaks to her guide clairaudiently. And she told me a story that she used to work with this guy that had cancer. And so she would do Reiki healing on him. And then when he passed away, she was already communicating with her guide. When he passed away, she said that he was given the option to come back into life or to train to be a spirit guide or to be like a guide. He chose to train to be a guide, and her guide was training him to be that guide, is what she told me.
Wow. Hang on, Truth Matrix Seeker. It's that time. If you want to hang on the line, we'll bring you up after this short break. So stay tuned, everyone. Tobias Lars on Truth Brigade Radio. So much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at TruthBrigade.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. Our special guest tonight, Tobias Lars, author of Listening to the Sun and Awakening Souls, which you can find at soulcounseling.com. Also the creator of InnerBodyAwakening.com. And one of those tools we mentioned before to help you tell the difference between the good ones and the bad ones and become aware of your own intuition, your own knowingness. We have great calls tonight, and Truth Matrix Seeker is still on the line. So, Tobias, we kind of got cut off there before the break. If you would, please continue.
Hi.
Well,
sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that's a beautiful story, and I love real experiences like that. And we don't know from, you can know from the expanded perspective, why did it happen for him at that time? Why do they intervene strongly sometimes, and other times sort of people die, or bad things seem to happen? There is in my view, in my understanding, and the more I see, it makes more and more sense. It's just like you can't teach calculus to a 3-year-old, you know what I mean? It sort of has its own progression. But it makes total sense why there's intervention, like in your friend's case. And you don't have to know about spirit and go to church and all that stuff. It really has very little to do with it sometimes. It has to do with your soul and receptiveness and beyond time and space. And I wanted to mention about spirit guides. We, in my understanding, angels are different than us. We can become spirit guides for each other, and we often do. But angels themselves are a bit of a different frequency, the ones that have never been incarnated as in this frequency. So that's what I meant by that earlier. I love being encouraged by that story. So You can have your own interaction with your angels, I suggest, but don't expect it to look or feel like anyone else's. One sure way to kill it, I know, is to go, why can't I have it the way he did? That the angels do not respond well to that kind of pounding, in my experience.
That makes sense.
Other than the spectrum of sight and sound, how do you know you're interacting?
You get quiet. You get into a be still and know that I am God place. You learn to let your breath fall quiet naturally. You learn to feel your inner body, your energetic body. You learn to listen to that still voice. You learn to notice when, wow, I just telepathically communicated with my friend. And you have to get a little patient. I mean, if you're playing video games on the computer and eating crappy food and just sort of statically, television is bombarding your brain, that's interference. You need to give it some time and space, just like anything else. If you want to learn anything or connect with anything, you have to give it time and space and attention. It is a matter of relaxing, though. It's a surrender, relaxing, and it's a still, small voice. And just ask for it. Say, I want to know. And then if it tells you, go to the park or be quiet or sit here or, do this, follow it. Say, I want communication with my angels. I want
You just said if it tells you, other than hearing, how do you know it tells you?
You hear it inside your head. It's not a voice, though. It's the still, small voice, which is a way of trying to describing how do your thoughts come into your head.
See,
follow that.
And it's not forceful either.
That's a great...
Let me ask you if it's similar to...
Wait. Before you go on, this is the example we're using here. Before we move on,
okay.
Here's something to contemplate, meaning quietly sit with. And it's not a matter of pushing. Where do your thoughts come from? Next time you sit and just sort of notice your thoughts, where are they coming from? That will take you to the place where you can hear inspiration, which is how the angels talk to you. The same way your thoughts arise. Who has spent time going, where did that thought come from? How do my thoughts get birthed? It's sort of like bubbles, Where do they come from? If you sit in that space and meditate on where do my thoughts come from, and at the same time in your heart say, I want to hear from my angels. See what happens.
Well, I had two experiences. The first one was just one that, opened me up to all this when I saw a video and felt energy with my hand. And then from there I started exploring everything. Reiki, IET, all these different energy modalities.
Yes.
And in doing that, I was trying to find different healing modalities, and I came across something called theta healing. And in that class, the second class is where I had sort of a weird experience that really threw me for a loop. And this is what happened. It was in that second. Are you familiar with theta healing?
I've heard of it. I'm sure I'm familiar with it, maybe not under that name.
Right, okay.
But, yeah.
So it's basically just a visualized form of prayer, and that visualization that you're doing is trying to get you into a theta brainwave state.
Right.
So in the first class, I didn't feel anything because I was being guided by what I could feel in my hand is what I would be pulled towards. And this is something that you don't feel. It's like using your mind, sort of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Visualizing. And so the first class didn't do it for me, and the teacher said, wait till you do the second class. That's when you'll notice something. And I wasn't feeling anything or noticing anything other than whatever she'd tell me. And then the last day or second to last day, there was a part in there which is just like a small 1 or 2 chapter lesson on this, how to give a psychic reading. And I'm like, well, I don't know, how am I going to do that? And so we basically did this visualized prayer, asked God the question that the person that we're doing this for, and then see what the response would be. Now, the thing about that got me with this is that I was seeing things, all crazy things in my imagination. I thought it was my imagination because everyone else is saying that they see white light, this and that. And I'm, like, seeing, like, you know, conveyor belts coming out of a drive-through window, ending up with, like, that bell, like, with the hammer that you hit at a circus. The strong man hits it, and it goes ding. You know, like, all these weird images. And so I'm like, Dad, this is just my imagination. And so in doing this reading, I asked the girl, who do you want to speak with? And she said, her grandmother. And so I did the whole thing, and then I saw a kitchen. I could describe all the detail in this kitchen. I saw a lady with her legs stretched out across, stirring a glass of tea. I saw an apple pie that looked smushed, and the word strudel just came to mind. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. I just, strudel. Right? I saw blue. I saw white. I saw the detail on the vinyl linen, I guess it's called, on top of the kitchen table. I could tell that the kitchen was in the back of the house because the light wasn't coming in, but it was very bright outside. So then I asked her, what would you like to ask your grandmother? And she said, I would like to know how to speak to my father, about my stepmother. The next thing I saw was a bedroom. I could see a dresser, a TV, and I could see all the detail. I could tell it was a 1970s era where the kitchen was 1950s era. And, well, anyway, I saw all these details. So then when we were done, she's like, wow, that's so weird. I'm like, why? She goes, well, my grandmother was Austrian, and she liked to bake, and the thing that she liked to bake was strudel. I'm like, whoa. And then she goes, and what's weird is that she had two different houses with two different kitchens. One was blue and one was white, and I saw it as blue and white, and she said it was as if you put them together. Then she said, and it was 1950s style, then she said that her father had a second house in upstate New York that was all 1970s style and had all the details that I was mentioning, the brown carpet and the brown paneling on the walls. And so then I'm like, well, if this was just my imagination, these were things of all the things that could have made up. How did these things match somewhat what she was saying?
Yes. So you can... That's an authentic connection, yes? It's undeniable. You're not going to get...
Right, that to me is like, all right, this is not my imagination, even though it comes through with the same pictures as my imagination or a memory of something, or like if I say picture myself at a beach, that's how I saw it.
Exactly,
but
and that's
is that how the thought, where you're remembering a conversation, that kind of hearing, is that how you would clairaudiently hear?
Yes. So now you've got a taste for how it comes. And you said, oh, that's just my imagination. And most people do that. But that is how it comes. And then you can go, oh, cool, let me experience it again. And then you get better and better, just like you're learning to ride a bicycle or learning to, I don't know, shoot a javelin or throw a javelin or something. You're learning to separate my stuff, static, from authentic stuff. And it's a matter of training yourself to do it. And first to say, I'm open to learning. And also it has to be in alignment with your soul purpose here, by the way. We're not all meant to just sit around and learn to be psychic. Not what the earth is about, you know.
Well, then that comes to my next question. So we came to this life for a reason, right? And so I say to myself, okay, here I'm stuck in the mundane routines of life. You have to get up, you have to commute, you have to go to work, you come home, you have 2 hours to yourself, you go to bed. You do this all week long, and then you just repeat it. And then I say, well, you know, with all this wonder in the world, and you see how infinitely large space is, and you see the YouTube videos of the known universe and all this stuff, and then you see how all these celestial bodies and the energies and how these energies influence us and consciousness and the multidimensional reality and all these different things, you know, the more I'm learning these things, the more and more everybody's thinking I'm a freak that I know. And they're like, you know, why don't you just talk about, you know, come every weekend when you have time. We talk about mortgage, kids, and work. And that's all they talk about. And then they divert themselves with watching men throwing balls on TV, trying to put them in nets or hoops. And, you know, and either drink beer or listen to music. And then everything seems to be like a waste of time diversion when, like, this is the kind of thing that you want to learn. But then it's like, well, you're here to have an experience. So then, you know, it's I don't know. It's like this back and forth with
this. Confusing.
So what is your purpose in life? Because right now I need to focus on getting more money, and I have to worry about survival and food and roof over my head. But when you do that, it takes away from the time that you need to relax and develop spiritually and do all these things. And, you know, if ascension is coming and all this stuff, but then you hear crazy things like, you know, you say, okay, you hear of this thing called Planet X or Nibiru, this thing that's coming from the South Pole that has a 3,600-year orbit. And if it comes here, there's going to be gravitational forces. And you say, how could these big celestial bodies really influence us? Well, I could feel energy with my hand. So then I'm saying, okay, well, you know, you think this air that we're breathing in this room is just oxygen. But in there's FM radio waves, VHF radio waves, and it's just a matter of you tuning into it. But then
here's what
maybe
you can
I'm just
do.
talking too much.
No, it's all beautiful. That's all beautiful. Here's what you can do. A very practical, powerful thing we can do is to make the everyday mundane sacred. And the way you do that is you start exactly where you are. I have this job. There's a time in my life after I have master degrees, part of my humiliation or humility, right? I'm out driving cabs or doing whatever, you know, because it's part of, it's why monks or people go through very tough times at times. We don't have to suffer and struggle, but if we are where we are, start where you are. How can I bring my inner body and my energies with me in my daily life? If all that is that you start during the day once in a while to just take one full divine breath. You breathe in up through your head, back down your spine to the root of your spine, and then circle it up your front and out your mouth. One big divine breath as here I sit in my cubicle or whatever job I'm doing. You can do that. No one can stop you from taking one full divine breath. And at the end of that breath, you recontacted the source of all there is. Let it carry you forward. Don't separate the two. This is my mundane life, and then I have to sit and do the spiritual life. Sit and do the spiritual life, and then bring that more and more into, quote, what we call mundane life, and watch what happens. You may change some friends. You may get a hit. I want to go to this thing. You can lead a double life for a while. It's okay. Hang out with your friends and talk about mortgages. And if you've had enough, say, I've had enough. I'm going to this thing. You know, I'm going to, and you'll have a whole new set of people, but you've got to be willing. It's sort of like, you know, when you grow, you can't stay in junior high. It gets weird, right? If you stay in junior high, even though you had a really good time, it gets really weird. You can't stay in high school. You can't stay in college. There's a natural progression. So as this thing progresses, say yes. Yep, I'm moving onward and forward and outward and upward. And the most powerful thing we can do out there is to alchemize ourselves. You already have some of these abilities. You can sense energy. Learn to sense some of it privately. You don't have to tell people about it. Just feel it and enjoy it for yourself. And then ask, where do I go next with this? And if there's no clear answer at the time, we're learning patience. No.
Very good.
Yeah. So, beautiful. Take that full divine breath. Feel your inner body. Hear that still small voice. Elaborate on it. And don't tell people who aren't ready to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you
Very
want to...
good. Very good
thank
call.
You very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right. Wow, that was great. And I see we have a couple more callers on the line. I apologize and want to thank you for your patience, but sure enough, it is that time. We are going to be taking a break, and I just want to put out there again, innerbodyawakening.com. I totally feel you, Matrix Truth Seeker, and want to thank you again for opening up like that with us. Stay tuned, everyone. innerbodyawakening.com. Tobias Lars here on Truth Brigade Radio. Yep, I'll take some of that peace of mind. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Tobias Lars tonight, talking about angels. What are they? Angels, demons, and elementals, and awesome calls, by the way. And we've had a couple calls on the line, Tobias, patiently holding, so let's just get right into that. Our next caller tonight is area code 310. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Christie. How are you?
Hi there. Great, thanks. How you doing tonight?
Good, good. Good evening to you and Tobias. And I'd first like to say that y'all out here in Radio Cyberland, pray that have your children back into your arms as soon as possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
In regards to a caller that just recently called concerning the homeless gentleman with the crystalline blue eyes, it really touched me because this kind of goes back to a story I'm very familiar with. Back to about 1990, I saw a lecture, a man named Benjamin Creme. You familiar with Benjamin?
Yes.
He's been speaking about the return of what will be known as the world teacher, Maitreya the Christ. And you could read in Sheer International magazine every month about instances that people write in about concerning their experiences with the Christ appearing to them as a beggar, as just a regular man or even woman on the street. Remember back in the mid-'90s, the hitchhiker, the mysterious hitchhiker? The stories that were reported in the media about this mysterious hitchhiker that would be picked up by people. They weren't sure exactly. They never picked up a hitchhiker before, but for some reason they felt compelled to pick up this hitchhiker and start talking to them about the happenings of the world, and then sometimes would even suggest that, and by the way, the Christ is in the world, and just poof, just disappear right out of the car. Many of these instances are continuing to be recorded in different ways around the world, which is kind of been an underground way of getting the word out that that's something very, very important.
Are you there? Are you there?
Area code 310, you there?
I think he popped off.
That was mysterious. Okay, well, go ahead and call back if, weird. Okay, it looks like he just dropped.
Yeah, I know there's some controversy with Benjamin Creme, and some think that whole setup is from the Theosophical Society, and it's actually, the Antichrist. But I'm not saying that. I'm not completely sure about what's going on with that, but I've heard of it. But certainly we will entertain angels unawares and more aware. And for us to personally do it is to ask for it. Unless you ask, nothing happens. That's not true totally either. Sometimes we get helped anyway. But the way it works, physics-wise, is we ask of the universe, we request, or we decide. We as humans seem to be energy manifestors, creators. We can manipulate energy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, manipulate. I mean we can orchestrate. We can manipulate, orchestrate energy. And the angels are, in a sense, our servants. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like it's wonderful to serve at certain times, to help others. They love it, and they are teachers, but we have to ask for it. We literally have legions of angels that are ready to help us. The thing is, because of free will and the way it's been set up, there are forces on the earth that are convincing us not to avail ourselves of this power. For right now, you could literally, when we pray and ask for the angels in Libya to help in all the Mideast, the whole planet, you ask for the angels. They have to wait for us to ask. Very seldom do they get permission to trespass in without us first having asked. That's just the setup. It's physics, you know. And so the more we ask, please help with this. Prayer is nothing more than communion. Communion is when you are, and the more powerful your direct creation, you can call it. You can pray in creating. You can give energy and receive energy. Why not start using it? Your angels love helping. Why only wait until the car is on your child, or you've fallen in the river, or you're about to hit a cement, bridge abutment in your car? Let's not wait till it's only emergency. Let's start using it now. Wouldn't you enjoy being able to take time off and go, please help me with this. Help me organize my schedule. Help me with my soul's evolution. Show me my next job, or starting my own business, or being with the right people. Change my environment. I ask for this energy help. Your angels, I give you permission to schedule my life. And I want help with this. Don't worry. If it's not in your soul's alignment, that prayer won't be answered. But just start, if you have to start flailing about, it's sort of like when you're learning to dance, you're going to look like a goof a little bit. That's just how it is. So it's like learning to flex your angelic asking prayer muscle. It's time to do it, Why not? Ask and see what happens. Have some fun with it. Joy and I did it 2 days this week. Angels have been the topic. And we just asked, and all this energy just poured in. It's like instant. All of a sudden I felt uplifted, and it was just undeniable. Tonight at dinner we had a miracle. Silly little miracles. They love doing what we look at as little miracles or big miracles. There's angels for whole nations. The reason the angels get created, they literally are part of the physical foundation as well. Like I said earlier, when we create time and space, there's archetypes, archangels, arcs, that get put in place. There's angels for whole nations. America has a giant angel. Every nation has their own angel, and they are all working for the original plan of Source, these angels on the good side. And us asking is us receiving at the same time. When you ask, you receive. So why not ask? What do you got to lose? Get quiet and say, if you don't believe it, you can say, I don't know if this works, but hey, let me try it. And then be honest with what happens. Be honest with what happens. Because the thing is, when we get juiced, when you get God energy in you, just a little bit of energy, you forget all your troubles instantly, and off you go and doing your old patterns, your old addictions, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I watch it all the time with people. They come to me and they got it feeling crappy, and then we get a little bit of the angels touch us or God touches us, and all this beautiful energy runs through your body, and they're off and running and back to their same programs that got them in trouble to begin with. They go, let's immediately go to lunch and eat massive amounts of meat and donuts.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that those things aren't fun, when they are, but it's like once you get that energy, if you're going to blow it again, then you didn't learn anything. So it really is sort of, okay. When you feel that good energy in you, just enjoy it for a while. Don't spend it right away. It's like if someone gives you $10,000, don't go blow it right away. Mm-hmm. Just sit there with it. Well, it's the same with energy. The angels can't keep feeding you energy if you're just like an energy heroin addict, and you'll just blow it right away.
Yeah.
That's the law. That's the rule. God doesn't just piss away beautiful energy. If you're out in you don't pour your water into the sand and then go, where's my water? Mm-hmm. You've got to learn to hold energy. You've got to learn to contain yourself in the sense that, here's a great image of that. And I apologize for using the bad word there. I'm teasing here, let's relax a little bit. But, when your heart is full, when you're filled up, then the cup automatically overfloweth. My cup overfloweth. So fill yourself first. I am full of God love, energy, angelic love. See, the reason they give, because they're full of God's love all the time. They don't drain themselves. They don't drain themselves. We as humans drain ourselves. That's why we have to sleep. The only reason you have to sleep every night is because you went out there in the fight-or-flight syndrome and you stressed and your shoulders were up around your ears and your stomach was all in knots and you took Advil and you took Rockstar energy drink and you were out there fighting and scheming and being fearful and protective and, psychically draining yourself, and finally you come home and drain and you go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't meant to sleep. See, because energy is energy. That's why masters, like Yogananda, he slept 2 hours, 3 hours a night for 20 years. And then eventually, towards the end of his life, he wasn't sleeping at all. Why? Because if you're full of energy, what do you need to sleep for? If you're full of God's energy, that's why sleep is a temporary emergency, state of emergency on earth, that we have to sleep to rejuvenate ourselves. Because what we're doing in the sleep state is we're going back to the other side and refilling, rejuvenating, restoring our energy circuits and our physical body.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Babaji and Jesus doesn't sleep now. He's full of energy. He's full of God all the time. I and my Father are one. He appears in 5 million places every day.
Mm-hmm.
We have that power too. It's just that we have forgotten and we've learned to drain our energy because there are forces that are interested in draining us of our energy because they are succubi, energy sucker, spirits, and these are the fallen angels. They have to live off of life force, which they drain from humans.
Mm-hmm.
And, once you learn to hold energy, and you learn not to feed energy, and these, they have great ways of getting you to do it. Like all you got to do is attend your family reunion, you run into a bunch of succubi. I'm teasing, but sort of. But basically, there's so much vampirism of energy on this planet. Oh, come on, man, I helped you out when you did. You should help me. I'm your brother. Mm-hmm. This is all guilt. You help when you have it in your heart and you really want to. If you give out of guilt, you're serving the god of guilt. Do you like guilt? Does it feel good? Who here likes guilt? Nobody. So living by guilt will make you get more guilt. Guilt is not God's way. I'm sorry. Guilt is not God's way. Shame is not God's way. Fear is not God's way. I'm not saying that those aren't used sometimes by Spirit God, of course. But it's not the way it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you are your own being, you don't need an alarm clock to get up and have to go to work. You do what you do because you want to do it. You are a free and sovereign being. You're not doing it because someone's telling you to do it. That's slavery.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. The angels do what they do for us because they want to. They love it. It is an orgasm of bliss and exploding fireworks of light for the angels when they do their work. When they appear at the phone booth, when they appear in the hallway, when they get through to you and you listen to them, they're high-fiving each other in the other dimensions going, yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I got my guy to do it. Check it out.
Absolutely.
And they get good juice from it. Just like we love when our kids have a victory. The angels love when we, in a sense, are their kids. But even though the strange thing is we're in charge, but we're kind of forgotten that we're the kings and queens. And so the angels are trying to remind us, do you know that you are a son and daughter of the source frequency of the universe, of God, Goddess? Mm-hmm. And we're like, what do you mean? I'm just a piece of what here on earth, and I'm struggling, and I really don't want to be here, is most humans' experience. Most humans' experience is life sucks, and then you die, and then you have to do it again.
That's sure what it feels like sometimes, Tobias, but it's that time. Hang on just a second. All right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. This is the last segment with our special guest tonight, Tobias Lars, talking about angels, demons, and elementals. And sorry for the phone problems. It actually wasn't the caller who dropped. It was the caller line who dropped. So I just want to apologize because I know we had other callers on the line. And it is back up and running, but we just have a few short minutes left. So I apologize once again for that. But Tobias, goodness, I wanted to ask you this earlier when you were talking about angels and how they're different, and you said that you talked about how, maybe a little bit of jealousy, like, screw these people, I don't want to help them anymore, and then there was a split, and I totally hear that, but you said that that we have capabilities that they don't have, but wouldn't they have capabilities that we don't have? Because as we talked in the first part of the show, if we don't know that we have these abilities, or if we've limited ourselves with our belief system, then technically we don't have these abilities, right?
Exactly. But we have them potentially. We can develop into them. And it's so hard to talk about this without us having value judgments about being better or worse than each other. And that's just not how it works at a certain point. It's sort of like a Clydesdale horse never thinks he's better or worse than a thoroughbred, And the angels don't think of it that. Some of them did. See, that's the rebellion. The rebellion angels did occur. So obviously some of them do have free choice. But we are of different created order, just like a dog is not a cat. Humans and angels are just different orders of created sentient beings.
Okay, but are we still part of the whole then? I mean, if we're all created, by the same source and we're all one, they're different entities, but we are still one and the same, kind of?
We are all made from God's stuff. Everything is made from God's stuff. That's the oneness, merging, enlightenment, I and my Father are one experience.
Okay.
There is a oneness, and at a certain point you can actually choose to be anything you want. Now that'll blow our minds, right? You can be an angel. You can be anything you want. You can be a sun. You can experience all things in the creation. You become...
Okay.
It's it's a much bigger.
Well, what about like golems then, or soulless ones? I mean, are they from the same source, and do they have that same choice?
Well, my understanding of that is us as humans. See, here's one of the differences: angels can create more of themselves.
Okay.
We can.
Okay.
Humans actually have the ability to play God. We can create a golem, another life form, which is why some of the angels thought, why are you, God, giving this power to these undisciplined, idiotic kids?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So we can create things outside of the plan of God, of the source, including artificial cyborgs. Robotic intelligences that really aren't part of the natural order. It's the freedom to choose evil, some people say it.
So then maybe not all things we're dealing with really are from the source, right?
Well,
or
ultimately...
Are they still from the source because man or whoever that was created from the source created it?
Exactly. So it becomes a philosophical, simply point of view.
Yes.
Someone will say, come on, nuclear power and plastic and, whatever, fake hearts and, all that. It's all part of God because we are pieces of God and we created them. And from that philosophical, this is a matter of semantics, so we go into university class here. Yes, of course everything is of God ultimately. But there's a natural order that works better, that feels better, that's enjoyable. And there's one that is you're learning the hard way. It's sort of like if I step off a cliff, that's the natural order of things, but I will learn the hard way that creates certain consequences. So it's a philosophical argument that sort of goes nowhere. It's mental masturbation, you know. But does it feel good for you? Does it feel... We know what it feels like when it's loving, when you're connected, if you will. When you're connected to the natural order, the Tao, the flow. You just feel good. You're in the flow. You're in the zone. You're moving with the life force and the plan for you. That feels good. Now, maybe some beings got bored and said, what does it feel like not to be in the flow? And they spent eons, you know, trying to get away from God. That's cool. That's all allowed. You know, it's up to us. I know we have to do another week because we didn't get to a bunch of stuff about the angels.
Yeah, I was thinking. It kind of looked right off the bat this was going to be a 2-week conversation.
But for now, for this week, if you want to, if you can get quiet, and I don't mean sitting quietly, I mean getting connected inside yourself, the inner body awakening is very powerful for that. But whatever prayer meditation techniques you use, and then talk to your angels. If you want to say for the highest good for me, and if you don't like that, say it however you want. I want to know you closer. I want to know more. I want to have more of a direct relationship with my buddies that help me out. Come help me, or show me. How can I talk to you better? And then listen and follow it. It's sort of like if you listen and hear it but don't do it, then you don't get results. So this week, if you want a closer walk with your angels, what would your life look like if you didn't have to do it all yourself? What if you had all these angels that actually love carrying your bags? I'm kidding. But helping you with your projects, getting work done, relationships, this, that, and the other. What if you have angels helping you out? They love doing it, just like my dog. He loves being with me and fetching and doing stuff for me. He loves it. He gets off on it. He's like attached to me. He's like, we have attachment disorder. He's codependent on me because he loves helping me. Well, some of your angels are just like that, too. Your dog is unhappy when you tell them to stay home and they can't help you. Well, your angels are unhappy sitting in the waiting room, too, going, man, I got no connection with my soul. They don't want me to do anything.
Yeah, when are they going to notice me?
Yeah. So try this week. Try this week direct prayer. Thank you, Christie.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, let's try it this week. We'll continue the discussion next Thursday. Thank you, Tobias. Thank you all who joined us tonight. Abundant